which is kind of a broad category. So, there's plenty of places we could go with that, with marketing. But in terms of kind of what you all want to address today, I know you probably looked at the presentation. Is there anything in particular you would like to hone in on or focus on, even if it's not in the presentation?
I don't know if it's in the presentation, but I will really love to cover like the social media marketing part, especially with like which kind of disclosures you need to like make to be compliant. Because I feel that's a big thing for me. I really want to like push hard with social media, but sometimes I'm like, am I saying the right thing? Am I disclosing enough? Am I doing it in the right way? One click away, is it like, all this kind of things. Yep.
Peter?
Yeah, and I would second that. I think social media, to include websites would be great.
And when you say websites, what do you mean?
So there's the KW, agent website, obviously. And I may be completely off base here, but my observation is the listings that are on that website are limited to the listings that are in the KWLS, not the broader MLS, which is, a couple of folks have complained is probably the right word. They went on to my KW website. And then linking, I guess, standalone websites to the KW website, a landing page and a feed, that kind of thing.
Okay, I will share with you what I do.
Great.
And then you guys can decide if you want to adapt that. And I can talk through the tools that I use. And I use tools that are different simply because I had my system set before I came over to Keller and it was working for me. So I just kept that system. So, and I'm not going to be that facile on, I've tried designs. I didn't sign up for the KWLS website because I have my own WordPress website that I paid for, and I have an IDX feed going in there. So we can talk through that, but so I'm not going to be as familiar with the functionality of the KW website that's provided. But I can walk you through mine and then you guys can decide. And a lot of times CRMs come with a website that allows you to have an IDX feed that gets all of the listings that then can be customized by client. So that would be a consideration as well, but then that's money. So like budgeting here is an important conversation as well. So, all right, so we're 10:06. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna just share my screen with the presentation so that we can just run through, and then let me get started on the slideshow. It's been so long since I've done PowerPoint presentations. Can you see that?
Yes.
Is it the actual slideshow and not the PowerPoint?
It's both. No,
it's both. Okay, how do I?
It's probably on the top. You're gonna see.
Did that go away?
No.
All right.
No.
User error already. Let's see.
If you hover over the very bottom, like the bottom little bar on your PowerPoint, there should be like a little TV screen thing. I'm not seeing the full screen, I don't think.
TV screen.
But
I see here. Slideshow. Is that better?
Maybe.
It did not change to me.
Okay, let me unshare and then let me do it here and then I'll share it again. Hold on. All right, let's see here. From beginning, slideshow. Present online, maybe that's what I need. No? Okay, let me pull it back up again and I'll pull it.
Not a problem.
See, I prepared and everything and now we're having a user error. All right.
Well, the presentation that you had up was fine. We could see the slides.
I just didn't want you to see the other, the
coming attractions.
Toolbar.
Well, no, so I didn't know if you were seeing the actual non-presentation mode. or as well as the presentation mode?
So
It had like the
saying, like-
notes on the side, and then it had the little mini slides on the left.
Yeah, that's what I didn't want you guys to see.
Yeah. So if you
So
share again on the bottom, like little bar, it looks like just a little peg, and there's like a box on top of a peg.
Here, let me
Click on
see.
that, that'll start the presentation.
Is that better?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
there you
perfect.
go.
That's
All
great.
right, I had just started, and I should have just shared the other screen. Okay, because it's on my other monitor. So, okay. All right, so we're going to talk today about marketing and prospecting. I know we talked a little bit about our lead gen, if you will. We talked a little bit about this already on Monday, so I am not going to repeat that, although I want to say, just make sure that you're doing your daily schedule. So everybody has a calendar with blocked out time for prospecting, correct?
Right.
Every Monday through Friday?
Yep.
Great. And then everybody has a database, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's really where you need to start. So, and you want to add to that database daily by meeting with people or talking to people. So that's super important to do. All right. So sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get my teacher guide up with this. So tell me a little bit about like what your thoughts are with regard to marketing and lead gen. Like, what do you think the difference is between the two? Hi, Chris.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think lead gen is probably a more personal way to market. And market is more like a broader, more passive way to do lead gen.
What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I agree with that in general. I think lead gen is individual focused, and marketing is more broadly market focused.
Yeah, exactly. When you think about, you guys all come from a corporate or a business background, right? So when you think about a funnel, an inverse funnel, it's,
Right.
How do you drive those leads into that funnel that then you can convert them into a buyer or a seller or both or whatever. So it's really like, and I view marketing as a generator of leads that go in the funnel. I view it as a tool to get those leads, and they're either cold, warm, or hot, depending on where you go and what level of the buying process that they're in, and they feed that funnel, and then that funnel takes you through. So Chris, we just real quickly, we had talked before you got on about since we have a small group, what we'd like to cover today. And both Peter and Ardit said they really want to not focus, but they want to definitely cover social media marketing.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to add to just ensure that we cover today?
I think that's a good place to start. I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, because you and I have talked about this separately, but there's also, and I guess that comes under social media marketing, but I'm thinking of more brand marketing and using, CPC or PPC or whatever, like on Google.
Yeah, we can talk about direct response marketing versus brand awareness marketing. And so we'll run through that. So today we're going to focus on leads that, lead gen a little bit, right? And you guys have already been doing your 10-4 and you're calling and you've got your schedule set. And then marketing, I'm going to talk marketing in general. I'll give you some seller listing examples of marketing, but we've got open house marketing. You've got, things like you can do a buyer presentation. So if you want to do a Zoom call and try to get more buyer clients, you can do a, first time home buyer seminar or how to buy in this market seminar and create that yourself. So there's different tools that you can use to drive the top of the funnel and bring those leads in. This is the little marketing versus prospecting slide. And so when you think about the cost, right? So a lot of times, if you're talking about your basic lead gen, like working your database, right? Your database is essentially a free tool that you have, right? It takes you time to put it together and feed it and nurture it. But it's like, that is the number one part of your business. If you don't have a database, you really don't have anything. So it's relatively inexpensive once you have that to call them, to email them, whatever. So the cost to, work on that is lower than if you want to do a Facebook ad, or you want to do a branding ad, or you want to do what Chris said, like PPC, that all costs a little bit more money. So you have to kind of think in terms of your budget and know that you have to invest in marketing, but at what level, right? So a lot of times people will start with picking up the phone and calling because it's your time, right? It's not free because your time is money, but it is free in terms of actual money exchanging. So prospecting does take a lot of time. It is proactive, so you've got to schedule it in, but you do tend to get somewhat immediate results. But I would argue that from prospecting, you need to do that consistent follow-up. And I know that we've got guidelines in MREA in terms of touches a year. And so, what I try to do is touch my prospects monthly via a newsletter, electronic newsletter, which I can show you. I use Mailchimp. Quarterly with either a card or some kind of little gift and or a call. And then do my social media pieces of it. So, just being consistent is really key here, right? So once you block out the time, it's really about being consistent. And Chris and I talk a lot about, but I'm not seeing results, but I'm not seeing results. And it's like, it takes time. So you're not going to have results day one. You're going to have results 3, 6, 9 months down the road, but you have to be consistent. And by consistent, I mean 75% compliant, right? Because you're always going to run into things like, I have a listing, I don't have time, I've got so much going on, I really can't prospect today. Like, that's going to happen, and don't beat yourself up about it. But you really need to try to do it as much as you can and as consistently as you can. With marketing, they're saying here it is money intensive. It is a little more passive unless it's a direct mail, like sign up today for the, for my buyer presentation. But it's a way to build your exposure over time. So while you may be having a call to action like sign up, just getting out there and being in front of people on a consistent basis will keep you top of mind. So there is that aspect of brand, organic, long tail kind of thing to drive impressions and drive top of mind awareness. And that's why it's important to be consistent, especially with social media, which we'll talk about. So those are kind of the differences between the two. Do you guys have any questions about that, or comments or frustrations? Or
makes sense to me.
Okay.
So just to comment, I had an aha moment, when we talk about quarterly mailings or notes or whatever, that quarterly can be on a rolling basis as long as you're hitting each of your leads, once a quarter, a rolling 90 days, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because we have this thing called Do the Database, which is another Keller tool, which basically has you look at like how your database is alphabetized, and then reach out and contact those people certain weeks of the month. And I started to do that, and it was helpful for me just to try to not be overwhelmed with like, oh my God, I got to call all A's today. How the hell am I going to do that, right? So if you can like pace it out and give yourself, a quantity to call, like I know it's 10, what was it, 10, 4, 10, 4, 4, 10
Right.
people. So, just make sure you do those. And then that way you just be done, unless you feel like, you're all energized and you want to do more. If you just set a minimum and just get those done, you can feel like you've accomplished something, today. So
Maggie, the question I have about that is, what are you saying to these people?
And we're talking about your database, Chris?
Yeah.
What, it's going to depend on a couple things, right? If you know these people and they're just friends, or if you know them and they're just sellers or buyers, you're going to have different conversations or different scripts with them. But like for my database, the people like my ex-colleagues, right? I will call them or I will text them and say, hey, just checking in on you. I'd love to hear how you're doing. I know it's been a crazy year, right? Do you have time to chat? Do you have time for a virtual coffee, whatever, right? So it's just very brief, but it's more like, I'm just checking in. I'd love to connect with you, see how things are going. I know it's been crazy.
You don't mention, hey, I'm in real estate or anything like that. Because I just, after the other day's thing, I reached out to all of my previous professional connections on LinkedIn. And that's all I did was say, hey, how are you?
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, you do need to let them know at some point that you are in real estate, which hopefully you've all emailed your database saying, hey, I'm in real estate now. I can help you with any kind of real estate needs, whether it's buying, selling, home repair, whatever, just so they know and there's a formal announcement. Like, you definitely need to do that. But then afterwards, once you connect with them, if they say, hey, I'd love to have coffee, it's going to come into the conversation, right? And so you don't have to feel like you're, like, hey, so can I help you with anything? Like, that's not my style. I'm a very kind of laid back person. So I'm not comfortable with that, but it will weave its way in. So definitely plan out your year, plan out what you're going to do to touch these people daily, monthly, quarterly, whatever, right? Like whatever frequency you want, and just plan it out and make sure it's in your calendar and blocked out.
Block and tackle.
Block and tackle. So this is where I ask you, after this section, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the participants be able to identify the characteristics, pros and cons, and use cases. Okay, so we're going to talk about use cases now. So we'll get into the social media stuff and a couple other things. It's a very long list here. Can you see this?
Yep.
All right, so it's talking about what's the difference between the two, and then there's some that are hybrid, like you're kind of doing both with them. So we'll just run through this really quick, and you guys use this as a checklist of, are you doing this? And if you aren't, should you be, right? So phone or face-to-face, so things like virtual coffees, physical coffees if people are comfortable, just a quick phone call or a text checking in. Whether or not you want to do for sale by owners or expired listings, that's completely up to you guys. You can also, does anybody do those right now? Expireds or for sale by owners?
The thing I found with expireds is that a lot of them have been sold, and maybe through a different agent, because I pulled expireds recently. And then before I committed to calling them, I did some research. And they've been sold through a different agent. And that's kind of what Art covered the other day. They said if you're going to look at expireds, look 3 to 5 years back.
Or a year back, or you can buy tools that will clean those out for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a couple tools. One's called RedX and one's called Vulcan 7. It's a caller, but it's also a database that you can sign up for. It costs money, right? So again, there's your budget, right? But it will, and everybody knows the rules about who you can call, right? You can only call expired. You cannot call withdrawns, and you cannot, you could probably call cancels, but you'd need to do the research on that, right? So Peter, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, at least new to me, I've got a client who wants a specific model of a home. And so I've gone to the real estate records and the MLS, and I've looked for expireds for that model. And then I sent physical letters to those addresses.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
Have you got any response?
I got one response that was kind of I might be interested. So we'll see.
Stay on them.
Yep.
Stay on them. Circle prospecting. So this would be, we have I think we still have cold database at our office. Kari, is that correct? Where you can search on zips, like if you're targeting a certain neighborhood or you want to, kind of get a list of people to call, the circle prospect, you can actually download. I'm not sure how to use it. I haven't used it before, but I'm sure somebody could show you how to do it. It's a database where you can actually download emails and phone numbers for specific areas that I know Keller subscribes to. You can also use Remind, and there's a lot of classes on how to use Remind, but you can say you want to target an apartment complex, you can actually polygon that area out and get all the mailing addresses and do what Peter did and email or snail mail people to say like, hey, now's a good time to buy, interest rates are low, happy to do a coffee with you or whatever, or even mail them an invitation to a buyer seminar, right? So that's a good idea for apartment complexes. Recently sold listings, that would just be mailing out to a neighborhood. Like say you had a listing that sold and you wanted to try to get more listings in your farm or a neighborhood, you could mail out. And again, you can get those addresses from the MLS or Remind. I won't go through all of these, but community outreach. So if you volunteer somewhere, or you have a church or whatever, you can leverage that. Key relationships. So all your past colleagues that you worked with, their HR departments, like reach out to those people, see if you can work out a program where maybe you give a discount, like give a refund back if they used you to help buy or sell. You can create programs like that. Investors, you know, it's always good to have a couple investors on hand. I personally don't have any. I'd love to add some to my portfolio, but I don't have them at the time. Teaching or speaking opportunities. So lunch and learns. I know a lot of time now that everybody's working from home, it's not as easy, but maybe you could go to an HR department of your old company that you worked with and say, hey, happy to do a Zoom lunch and learn on the real estate market. You know, I haven't tested that yet, but I definitely think that's a good idea. Door-to-door canvassing is tricky, I think, at this point, but certainly you're outside, so it's probably not as bad. Networking events, obviously, a lot of people are joining BNIs or they're joining the Chamber of Commerce. There is a lot of realtors that do that. So, you know, maybe better to find a place where it's not as concentrated with agents to join. We don't get much walk-ins, I don't think, anymore, so I don't think that's a thing. Any questions on prospecting or anything on that list that you would add or we haven't covered? Maybe prospecting that you do?
I think that's good.
Okay. Then we'll go over to marketing. And so there, you know, this is all stuff you've heard of before, right? You know, you've got your offline, so you've got your print, your billboard, your radio, all that good stuff, like putting it on a moving van. You've seen a lot of people out there that have wrapped cars, that kind of thing. Online, which is PPC that Chris mentioned. SEO is search engine optimization, and that really comes into play when you have a website and you're actually building content and you want to make sure the content's tagged appropriately so that people, when they search on it, they can find it in the organic search results, as opposed to paying for you to come up in the paid search list. Social media, and then other portals. Maybe you have a partnership with somebody, or maybe you have your own website. Broadcast content creation, so things like podcasts, vlogs, blogs, direct mail, which I'm sure we've all done, postcard mailings, special event cards, just sold, just listed cards, quarterly market updates. The thing about direct mail, as you guys probably know, is if you're going to farm or you're going to do direct mail and you're expecting to drive prospect results, it's a long-term investment. It is a 6 to 12 month investment before you start seeing a return. And that's mailing once a month. Ideally, you'd mail twice. So it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not a, you know, quick result thing. So you kind of have to have the desire to kind of be in it for a while. Obviously, wearing your brand is important. So like if you have, you know, a Keller Williams shirt or whatever, and you're in the grocery store, I'm sure you guys have all heard those stories where you're like in line and people are like, so what do you do? And then you have, you know, an example for me is I actually went and bought some furniture at our house in Fairfax, and we had to wait a long time because we were on hold to try to get some stuff done. And the manager came over and chatted with me, and she's super nice. And we just got to chatting. And the next thing I know, well, not the next thing, but like 3 to 6 months later, I'm helping her buy new construction and I'm listing her townhome in Brambleton. So you just never know, right? And I'm not one of those people who are like overtly like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, let's chat. You know, it just happened to come up in the conversation organically. So PR's an interesting one. You have to, again, invest time and content creation, because you really, in order for news people to pay attention to you, or anybody who's writing about this market to pay attention to you, you have to bring them stories, and they have to be unique stories. So it's, you know, it's a lot of work to be kind of, you know, pulled in as an opinion giver in the market. But, you know, if that's something that you're interested in, it's certainly not insurmountable to do. And then sponsoring things like, you know, if you have a local football team that you want to sponsor, or you want to be on one of those discount cards that they go out and sell, or, you know, you want to sponsor a charity event or whatever, you can certainly do that as well. So those are examples of marketing. And then there's kind of hybrids, which we talked about, farming. If you want to do buyer seminar events, you know, the good news about that is you're getting prospects in to attend your Zoom, but you're also marketing it outside. So it's a consistent, like, 2 weeks to 3 weeks out, you should start marketing, and it should be pretty regularly paced on social media. Maybe you do a paid per click, or maybe you would, send a flyer or whatever. So that's the marketing aspect of trying to do the prospecting, where that's where the connection comes into play. Any questions about the slide? Do you do some of this already? Okay, I see one nod.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I do some of it.
Okay.
There's a lot there.
What do you guys do for prospecting besides what we talked about, the calling every day? Are there any other things you do to prospect?
I do some social media posts, but again, I want to learn a little more on disclosure forms, and all of the disclosures that need to be made.
And are your social media posts just what are your posts about, and do you have a call to action, or how do you?
So I was going with the algorithm, sort of like way of doing stuff. So it was like 80% personal and 20% business.
Mm-hmm.
But the business that I'm portraying on my pages is more like, all right, this is what's happening with interest rates. This is what's going on with how many houses have been sold. And I've been really cautious on what to post, and it's all stuff like that was generated for someone else, and I'm just like bringing in and like portraying it in my pages and then giving them the credit. But I would love to like do a little more, just like create my own content, but doing my own research and stuff like this. So
okay.
Again, now I'm being very cautious and just trying to be respectful of other people, give them credit.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I've been working the key relationships category pretty heavily. Previous places where I've worked, people at other companies, that I worked with, that the whole networking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've done some community outreach in terms of sponsoring events, Little League, community theater, that kind of thing. Haven't quite
that's
honestly.
A good idea.
That is a good idea. Have you gotten any kind of feedback or response from that?
Very, very little, and I think some of that is due to COVID. Because nobody's gathering in place anymore.
Yeah.
So this spring, for example, I've got a banner going up at Lower Loudon Little League that's going to be, in the outfield. So we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. Chris, what are you doing, girl?
You know what I'm doing. So we're doing content sponsorships with local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I just reached out to my LinkedIn people, which I was poo-pooing for a while because I keep saying I have so many people outside of the area. So I just did that on Monday. I'm looking at 200 just plain cards. I'm going to start. I talked to Laura, Laura. And that's going to be my touch this month to my sphere, and it's going to be handwritten note cards.
Great.
Without branding on it. Laura suggested, because they're my closies, just to be just to ask for help. And then I do a lot of co-business marketing. So like with Dance King Studio, I'm meeting with an insurance agent this afternoon, having a virtual coffee.
Sweet.
But I definitely could do more.
Awesome. Okay.
And I definitely want to go into coal and start farming some neighborhoods, my own included.
Yep. Okay, great. All right. So marketing mastermind. So refer to page 5 in your participant guide. And let's go through some of the marketing questions and considerations. So on this slide here, how do you think about going to where the customer is and how you meet them there, in terms of like what channel, and then what kind of message or creative do I use to meet them there? Let's just talk through that, right? Like, how do we know where the customer is and how do we meet them there? So for example, maybe Chris, we could use Dance King.
Mhm.
So what we're saying is, we know there's probably people who take dance lessons that want to buy or sell or have real estate questions. So
Yep.
you're trying to meet them by creating content with Dance King
Right.
and leveraging Dance King's audience through social media, as
Mhm.
well as a broader audience on social media.
And then being very direct with the principals of that company and say, please refer.
Yeah, so let's talk through that. Talk to us about the conversations that you've had and perhaps how that.
So I have a really good relationship with this business. They've got they've been in business in Leesburg for 9 years. They have a list of 5,000 people, and people are coming through there like crazy. So, and they're my neighbors, and I've helped them with their own marketing. So I've set up, we did a video, which we featured on 15 West Homes. We distributed that on our own distribution list, did a promotion. By the way, they got an offer, or they got some people coming in off of that. And so it's a co-promotional thing, but it's also specifically saying, hey, because you worked with me, please refer to me. So it's basically asking for the business. The thing that I'm really clear when I do that is, look, people don't have to work with me. I just like the opportunity to meet with them and talk to them.
Yeah, so there's no pressure.
There's no pressure. No is always an option.
Yeah. So Peter and Ardit, what kind of examples can we talk through with you guys on where the customer is? Like, how do we know where the customer is and how do we meet them there?
So for me, it's been, community organizations that I'm either active in now or have been in the past. But with the huge caveat that in COVID, that's been pretty limited.
Yeah.
It's been, very virtual.
Ardit, what about you?
Well, I feel I've had more success in this case. What we're talking about in open houses, honestly. That's where
Me too.
where
Damn it.
clients and customers come to you. It's pretty easy job, but yeah, that's where I've had more success for now.
Yeah. Open houses seem to work well, but I've also found that there's a lot of nurturing required. You'll get the one-off that's like ready to buy tomorrow, but then like more than likely you're nurturing them for a while.
For sure.
So the next question is, how do you communicate? Well, number one, do you have a value proposition? Have you all written what your value prop is? Like what's special about, because we're all agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all love people. We all want to help people, but like, have you taken the time to really write down why you're different?
Not really.
Not yet.
All right. Can we take that as an action item?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. My value proposition, because I'm retired military, I highlight that, and then it's not very original, but I also talk about white glove service at no additional cost.
Yeah, I think that's great. And a lot of times you're sussing it out when you write your bio, right? So if you haven't written a bio, write your bio, and then it'll make you think about like what am I providing that's different or unique? And it's a stretch to say that unique is a challenge. I get it, right? Like my value prop is really, I've lived in Loudoun County for 22 years. I come from a background that's customer service oriented. I understand marketing. I've done multi-million-dollar negotiations. Like my skill set applies well to real estate. And then I'm a very consumer service focused person. So I take those skill sets and I put them together with the fact that I really want to help people and that I love home and design. Like that's kind of not well worded from what I just said, but that's essentially kind of what my value prop is I really do feel like my background where I've been helps me be a better agent and helps me really be an advocate for people and helping them with a big piece of their life, right? This is one of the biggest decisions they'll ever make, right? And so I know we've heard variations of that from a lot of different people, but you still write it down, because as you go and talk to people or as you meet new people, then you can kind of bring that to the surface and people will be like, oh, that's great. It sounds like you know what you're doing, blah, 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 right? So take the time to write your bio if you haven't, and then write your value prop. So let's take that as an action. And if you guys could, by next Wednesday, ping me, email me, whatever, tell me you've done it. If you want me to look at it, I'm happy to look at it, but I'm going to hold you accountable to getting it done. So and I'm not going to be proactive about it. I'm going to put it on you to come back to me.
Mine is sort of similar to yours, Maggie, as you saw in my bio.
Yes,
because
yes.
we have similar backgrounds.
Yes. That's okay. Let's just get it done, because I think it just helps you feel confident about what you can bring to the table when you're having conversations.
The thing I've noticed too is, because even though I haven't had a sale transaction, in working even with my sphere or some of the renters, I've noticed my style coming out, and I'm very informative and I'm very reassuring, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Those are soft skills, but
they're important. All right. So the next question is, how do you come from contribution or connect in a meaningful way? So what are you, so now we've talked about your value prop, right? Writing that out, whatever that is. So when you interact with people, how do you come from contribution? An example would be, reaching out to just go, how are you doing? It's been a crazy year. Is there anything I can do? Right? You're not saying, hey, you have a home to sell, right? So let's talk through what you guys are doing to come from contribution and just adding value when you have conversations.
I had an example of one of my neighbors that was talking about listing. She's been stressed, and she ended up deciding not to because of the children. You know about this. And so what I did is, she has some stuff that she wants to do in her house. So I've been advising her. I said, you've got a couple years till your son graduates. So in terms of contribution, I've been just advising her on what to invest in terms of putting in a new bathroom. Don't do this, put in the new bathroom and enjoy it for a couple of years since you decided to stay there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's being helpful and providing information. I've also provided referrals to people who can do the work. So I think it's being supportive, even if you don't get a listing, right? Yeah. Or a buyer.
Yeah.
It's being a resource.
You're doing it for the long term. You're not doing it for the short.
Right. Well, and she knows a shit ton of people. She has kids in school. So she's like, I'm going to refer as many people as I possibly can to you.
That's great.
So.
Ardit?
Oh, for me, so at the moment, I also work in a restaurant, and I work with tons of between teenagers and young adults. So what I've been doing, a lot of these friends of mine are either moving or thinking about moving. So like different rentals and listings, and leases. So what I've been doing without even them asking, I know where they want to go and when they want to be, where they want to be. So I've just been sending them, here's a couple of leases that are up for rent.
That's awesome.
That's smart.
And then of course they reach out to me what, can we go see it? I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Why That's not? Awesome. Good
That's
job.
Smart.
Peter.
I echo some of what Chris said. I kind of put it in the category of coaching folks. What do I need to do? And and when somebody says I'm not ready to put my house on the market, that's fine. That's great. You've got time to plan, that kind of thing. And then also, hopefully not in a hard sell kind of a way, but I talk up the value of Keller Williams, largest brokerage, and all the connections, and that sort of thing. And I've had a little bit of interest. I've reached out to folks in other parts of the country and the state that are thinking about moving up to Loudoun or Fairfax, and that's that's not a quick return by any stretch, but I've gotten a fair amount of interest there.
Yeah, but it'll pay off in the long term. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build your long-term business, right? And right. I know it's challenging when we're new because you need to make money, but you also want to build a business. So it's a little bit of a dilemma because you don't want to come across desperate, but you want to do the right things to make sure your business is going to, you know, continue to be successful and grow. So I get it. I get where you guys are. And I think you do have to keep the long term in mind and do the best you can to not be stressed out during the shorter term to get your business up and going.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I, you know, when I'm talking with folks, I say, look, I'm going to be here. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just want you to know that there's, you know, the resources available. And if I can do anything to help in the interim, you know, give me a call.
Yep.
And then I follow up. Pardon?
Oh, no, go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry. I just had, I
And
kind of
you know,
had a
and then
question.
obviously I follow up periodically, you know, on, when I say periodically, on a you know, a structured basis.
I think the biggest challenge for me has been, Maggie, was some of the people that I've known for a long, long time. And I've been in this area over 26 years. And so, and they don't see me as an agent. And so that's been the hardest to get them over that.
Yeah, I think that just takes time because I had the same issue, right? It just takes time for people to see you in a different way. And then in the meantime, you show them you understand the market and you know the business by sending them information or posting stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I'm sorry, I've had the same challenges. You know, I spent so much, you know, decades in business in Loudoun and Fairfax.
Yeah, it just takes time. You just have to be, you know, don't beat yourself up. It does take time. So the next question is, how important do you guys think branding and aesthetic consistency is in your market? And then how do you make sure that you're achieving it?
Primo.
What is that?
So what this means is really, you utilize a branding consistency, whether it's you're using the KW logo, you have your own team name, but you're consistent in terms of like every time something comes out from you, they know it's from you / your brand. So there's a consistency with regard to how you treat your marketing, your messaging, whatever, and consistent in terms of like look and feel, and then consistent in terms of like frequency, right? So those are two different things. And we've already talked about frequency consistency being critical, right? You have to put it in every day. You have to. And then just from a recognition perspective, your creative branding consistency is really important too. You don't want stuff to look different. So creating templates and using, whether it's using the designs feature in Command or using Canva, which I'll run you through to show you what I use. Creating templates that you can repurpose. So like a just sold template, a open house template. So all you're doing is changing out certain elements of things like the address and the photo, right? But it's a consistent look and feel. So people go, oh, that's from Ardit. He's on it, man. Like he is busy. He must be doing something. I got to call him because I want to sell my house, you know? So have you guys thought at all about that in terms of how you want to look, how you want to be perceived, treatment, that kind of stuff?
I've not thought about like being consistent in like you were saying with a template and always having a brand recognition like that, but definitely something I'm gonna implement in my posts. Yeah.
You know me, I'm not going to answer, Maggie. We've talked about this.
Plus you have some templates already, so.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, and I've given this a lot of thought, and you know, as an individual agent, I find that is a little more challenging. For example, you know, 15 West is, I think, a distinctive brand. And
it is.
You know,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that because you guys are on the call, but I think it hits a lot of the right notes. You know, not being critical, but Art has his, you know, big red Art logo, which on one hand is a little bit in your face, but on the other hand, it's very simple, it's clean, and it's very, very consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can do that too, Peter, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't have to be you know, Peter Engel Homes, right? You can be Keller Williams, right? But
Right.
I would say, and I think Art, you're already part of a team, so you're leveraging that, right?
Yep.
So I think it's worth just thinking it through. And, you know, again, I'm happy to, if you want to find some time to chat about like, you know, what's important to you and how you'd like to come across, you know, because it is important. And I spend a lot of money and time thinking through that brand because I come from marketing and I understand the value and I've been doing it for God knows how long. It was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
When I got
Okay.
my license. So anyway.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So should you follow up with leads generated from your marketing? We kind of talked through this unless you guys have questions about ways to follow up.
I usually just like hit them from all angles, like calls, texts, and emails.
Great.
Usually start with calls. When they don't answer, I'm like, hey, I tried to call, by the way, this is what I wanted to tell you, and here's the email that is the same thing, but from a different platform in case your phone died or you forgot it or lost it, you know. But
yeah, and I would just add to that to make sure you have some kind of scheduled, you know, touches in place so that you're not just randomly, you know, and you forget like, oh, I just called them last week. I don't want to call them again. You know what I mean? So like you just have a system in place to track all that, which is what your CRM is for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next slide here. Action, create and post marketing. Okay, so I don't use Command because of, again, I have my own system. So we're gonna take this slide and I'm gonna just show you some of the tools that I use for creating marketing stuff. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Now I have to figure out how I'm gonna do that and show you the same. I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna go over to a different screen. Where did I put that stuff? Let me find it.
What'd you use, by the way, Maggie?
I use a couple different tools, which I'm going to run through with you guys now so you can see what I use. And then again, they're not free. So, you know, it's going to be up to you guys on whether or not, and I don't see, where's that screen? Maybe operator error again, bear with me here. So I can, here it is. Okay. So, so I use a couple different tools. So I definitely use social media and I've gotten to a point where I pay somebody to post for me on my company's website, or social media page, which is 15 West Homes. And then I will share stuff. I don't do as much on my personal page for business. I do a little bit, but I probably should do more. I do stories a lot. So do you all have a Facebook business page, whether it's Peter Engel Homes or whatever, right? Do you all have a business page?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So, so what I use for my creative marketing is let me go here, a system called Canva. Have you all heard of Canva?
Yeah, I use it.
Okay, great. So I use Canva because it's just super easy and you can leverage templates. And, you know, I love design and I'll get wrapped around my axle and down a wormhole trying to work on this kind of stuff. But I don't think it would, I think it'd be worse if I had like Photoshop. So the great thing about Canva is they have all these different templates that you can leverage, right? So you can do an Instagram post, you can do a Facebook post, you can create a Facebook cover photo. So there's all these different templates that you can use. And so what we've done here with 15 West is we've created things like, here's our standard brochure, right? So you create it once, and then all you're doing is swapping out copy and swapping out photos. Or you're doing, the other one I wanted to show you is I've created these little templates here for coming soons, for just listeds, for open houses. So you can do this in designs. I just know this system really well, and I'm going to stick with, I don't want a more of a learning curve I just want to get to my stuff and I know my system. So these things, and the great thing about Canva is you can share the templates, right? So if for some reason you see something in here or you want a copy of something, I'm happy to share templates with you. You just have to make a copy of them before you edit them. Otherwise you'll edit my template and then I'll be angry. Ardit, to your point, technically with any online advertising, you need to be at least one click away from who your broker is, what their phone number is, what their address is, so that people know you're in real estate and know you're working for a specific broker. So while I put Keller Williams logo here, I'll have a link. Sorry, my dog is seeing a dog and freaking out. I will have a link in the copy that will direct them to a page where they can go and see all that information. And whether that's your KW website and you've done a single property page. Hang on a second. Hey! Stop! Stop it! Oh my goodness. He sees a dog and it's like he's dying. It's so ridiculous.
He sounds like a hound, not a Rhodesian.
He is a hound.
Oh, he is a hound.
Rhodesians
Okay.
are hounds. Yeah, they're in the hound group. So let me give you another example. So this is an example of a social media post that I do and I haven't done lately, and you can do MP3, so you can automate this, right? So every month I'll pull this so people can see what's going on in their city. And then I'll have contact me if you want specifics on your neighborhood, whatever. But
Maggie, can you share that with me, please?
yeah, I can. So this is just a simple way to, how about this for real time? A simple way to just kind of build content for social media and, have it be relevant and have people, know that you're actively watching the market. And whether it's you only want to focus on one city or one, area, that's totally fine. You can do that and just tailor it how you want. But so the great thing about Canva is it's easy to use. I've got signs in here so I can print, I can create my own for sale signs and send them up to the system online and get them printed out and mailed. So all my stuff sits in here. So I would suggest either using designs, and I know they come up with different designs that you can leverage, or using Canva, just to start creating. What you need to do for social media is say to yourself, okay, how often do I want to post every week? And what do I want to post about, right? So things like I have a review, I'm definitely going to post. I have a just listed, I'm definitely going to post. But as you're new, the consistency isn't as easy, right? So maybe it's a design tip Tuesday, or maybe so you need to build that schedule out and then build the creative to support that. And this is just organic. This isn't paid, right? Mm-hmm. So you would be doing on your business page, I would say at least shoot for 3 to 4 times a week to post. And then make sure you're inviting people that onto your page. So all your database should if they're on Facebook, should have gotten an invitation to join your Facebook page, right? So for my creative design, I use Canva. And then then I will use Canva or images from Canva. Well, let me go to listings to leads next. So listings to leads is not a free service, but why I like this service is because it is an automated way for you to market your listings and just really impress the sellers in terms of what you're doing through every stage of the listing process. So let's say, for example, so there's all these stages of marketing, which you can see here, right? It will pull in from the MLS automatically for you once your house gets to active. It will not pull in when it's coming soon. So it's a little bit of a dilemma because you have to manually add the listing, and then it will add another listing once it goes active. So all the work you've done on the first listing doesn't apply to the second listing. So anyway, it's worth the effort, but essentially it's a tool that is somewhat complex to use, but the thing I like about it is I can create single property websites. So let me just show you what this looks like. So here's my pending, I'm in open house marketing, let's say. All of these things.
Maggie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you mind sharing your screen?
Oh, am I not sharing anymore? I'm so sorry. how did I must have unshared on accident. Hang on a second. Let me apologize, guys. Thanks, Peter, for telling me.
Thank you.
Where am I? Here we go. All right, so it's called Listings to Leads. So here's the main screen, and they do a lot of training. So all of this up here is training on how to use this tool. I think it's $40 a month. So you can, it shows you how to do Facebook advertising. It shows you how to do open house lead gen. It shows you how to build a listing presentation using the tools here. So the thing I use it for is my listings. So I'll go into, let me just go into one of my old listings that I haven't updated in here. Let's say,
Oh my gosh.
we want to do just listed marketing, right? So all of these drop downs have content. So, and it won't let me, because I've been through these, I don't think it will let me look at them, but because it's past that stage. Let me go to pending.
Yeah,
So
right.
So that's like a checklist.
See all these drop downs?
Mm-hmm.
So you have things that you can send to the seller to post, right? You can post things yourself. So all these, you can look at print marketing and you can say, oh, I want to look at this brochure. I want this brochure to be customized, right? So you can download this brochure. Let me just download it so you can take a look at it. There's a lot to this tool, so you do need to pay attention and like get training, but here's a flyer I can print out with my brand colors, with my logo, right? So the thing I like about this is you can edit the listing. So you can go in and edit anything you want and add in pictures and whatever, right? But you can also, this can go into your command. You have to use, I think, Zapier to link it. So any new leads you get from the single property advertising that you do will get pulled in. That would be a Mike Seidel question. He can help with that. But here's the thing. So this is cool. So here are all the tools. So social media share image, it automatically creates one for you. You can download it and throw it in, and it's automatically formatted. You can choose Facebook and you can choose Insta and do 2 separate images, and you can download them, and you can put in the copy that you want here. You can change the background colors, you can change the image, whatever, but it automatically does all this stuff for you. And then you just take the assets and you put them. And it even has an app for Craigslist that will automatically post your listing to Craigslist.
Wow.
Because people still use Craigslist. So that's a tool that I want. That's how I market my listings, is using this tool and then leveraging it through social media. And you can even do a blog post. You can even copy the HTML for the blog post and throw it into your website. So a lot of times I'll do that on my own website, on our own website, which we have a WordPress website. The problem with that is you have to remember to take it down if the status changes, right? And so I have stuff up there that's not been changed, and that's kind of a bad thing. You know, so and you have an open house sign-in form. You can either do it online or you can do it in print. So you can have it on your computer. So you don't, I used to subscribe to Spacio because it was a online open house tool that people could sign up for. I use this now, and you can use Command. I know Command has this too. But anyway, so this just gives you a sense of listings to leads, and they have a ton of training. They have a Facebook group. They have online tutorials. So like, if you're going to use this, take the time to learn it. Otherwise, you'll get really frustrated and you'll be like, this is too complicated. I'm not going to use it. So at least take some tutorial classes on how to, and they have you saw an auto tool that walks you through the features. So you can press next, and it'll walk you through the stuff. So then once I have my listing in there, then I go over to Facebook and do my ads. So has everybody done a Facebook ad? Do you want, would it be helpful if I walked through a campaign?
No, I know
Can
how
we
to do
take
it.
a bio break
Sure.
first?
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, bio break. Go. You got 5. I want you back by 11:07.
Okay.
I figured because it was only 2 hours, you guys didn't need one.
Thank you.
No problem. Sorry, I just figured it was 2 hours and I was going to power through.
This is good.
Good. There's a lot of like script and role play in this thing at the end, which I know you guys are doing offline. So I just wanted to, I figure if it's enough to just show what I do, maybe it'll just be helpful for people.
Well, you kept talking about listening to leads to me, and that's the first time I'd seen it. I'm like, what the heck is she talking about?
Oh,
I'm
it's
definitely
great. It's
investing
a
in
great
that.
tool, honestly.
Mhm.
It's a great tool.
Yeah, it's Maggie, I really appreciate this. This is super.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to share, you know, and again, if you want to just, I know sometimes I'm hard to reach, but if we plan out a time, or we could even do a follow-up as a group. Chris and I have a weekly, every other week meeting. If you, I'm sure she'd be fine if you camped onto it every now and again, but if there's anything I can help you with, I'm happy to just walk through, you know, questions or scenarios, or tell you what I do, and you can decide whether you think it's good or not, or whatever, you know.
Not worthy.
There's no magic pill, and there's no magic formula. It's just all about, you got to pick what works for you and just really be consistent about it.
Run with it. Well, thank you. That's very, very generous.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so is it okay if I walk through, I'm gonna walk through an existing Facebook ad, and then I'm gonna walk through setting up a Facebook ad. Does that work for you guys?
That's great.
Yeah.
So I use Facebook ads for promoting open houses and promoting my listings. And so from an open house perspective, I like to start my ad on Wednesday and have it run through the end of the open house time frame. So whether that's Saturday or Sunday, and you know, spending $25 is worth your time. It's not a lot of money, and it's just good to have that out there, kind of promoting what you're doing and trying to get more, more people interested in the open house. I also put it up in my events on my business page, my open house, and then I also share it with people to the extent that I can on my personal page. So I'm going to walk through sorry, I'm looking over here at my other monitor. I apologize. I'm going to walk through let's see, which one do I want to do? I'll do this Still Creek one. So technically, if you were really doing this right, you would be testing every time. And I just don't have the time to do 2 different creatives and see which one wins. And also I just pick the front of the home. Sometimes I'll pick a kitchen. Sometimes I'll do a carousel and test it. Single images always do better for me. So sometimes it's better to have, 2 different images. I will say that if you're going to advertise more than a week, you need to update the creative and you need to update the copy, because it will fatigue. And that just means people have seen it so many times, they aren't going to pay attention to it. So if you plan on doing advertisements that run more than a week, make sure.
Which doesn't even make sense in this market right now.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm just going to show you what I have done. And the good thing about this, I'm just in Facebook Ads Manager, guys. So I just name it so I know what it is. Sometimes I'll put dates on it, although I'm not very good about going back and looking at my metrics, other than I do weekly reports for my sellers. And this is part of that, so that they know I did an ad. They know how many impressions I've got. They know how many clicks I got. So they don't think I'm just sitting around going, it's a great market, it's going to sell, I'm not going to do anything. You know what I mean? So, so the good news here is you can see from what this ad here, I spent $40. I had it run from, let's see if it tells me, I had it running for, I think, a week. So I had 623 link clicks, right? So think about that. I'm driving people to my single property page on listings to leads. There is a forced registration after a certain amount of time when they go to that page. So I will get that lead. Now, these are very, very cold leads, right? But you throw them in your database and you put them on a drip and you start to nurture them. They may turn out to be something, right? I've had that happen. It takes time. So those come into your CRM, you put them on a drip after they've looked at the website and they've registered on the website. So I reached 5,400 people. It's called 5,500 people. I had almost 8,000 impressions and 623 people clicked in to look at the house. So that's 6 cents per, if you're tracking your metrics, this, you'd look at the stuff. I can't tell you what this is in relationship to my other ads.
I have
just
one
do that.
question.
Mhm.
What is the difference between the reach, which I understand, and the impressions?
So the reach is, that's a really good question.
I know the answer.
Number of people who saw your ad at least once. The impressions include duplicate.
Oh.
So they're unique. They're unique people.
Yep.
Impressions are total. So some people might have seen it more than once.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Chris.
I lived and breathed this.
Yeah. So I'll just show you that. Let me see if I can, I think I can view the ad. Let me click in here. Let me go back to my, come on. It's not moving. Go back. All right, so let me just edit it. So I can look at what the ad looks like. So I'll just throw it here so you can see on my desktop. No, I guess it's not going to show me because it's over probably. Oh, here we go. So this is what it looks like on a desktop, and it'll format it for every different type of like mobile, whatever. So this is a total listings to leads example here. When you go through the training, it'll tell you like add emojis, but don't add too many because it gets people interested. Add a picture. And then, you know, you'll
how did Lucy's thing get on there?
Because you're in my news feed. It's just on my desktop. Chris's dog is the major destroyer of things. So this is just an example of what it looks like on Facebook desktop. So it'll format for all these different things. And then you just go through and you fill out all the things you need. It looks like I did do, I didn't do a carousel in this one. So this just is an example of an existing ad, and you can see what you get in terms of details. I can run through really quickly how to create an ad. So let me go. I'll go here.
Are you using the Get to Nova at all for the ads?
No, I'd have to run a separate ad through that. So I don't do that. And I need to manage that better, but I just don't have the time. We usually just put it on the 15 West page. So let me just create. So the more detail you put in here so you know what you're doing, the better. Because once you start getting a couple ads in place, you want to make sure you know what's what. So the first thing you're going to do is create an ad. And the first thing it's going to ask you is choose a campaign objective. Because I'm using a single property website from listings to leads, I want to drive traffic, because you can do a lead form on Facebook, and I haven't tested it in a long time, but when I did do it, this was like a year ago, it never seemed like people would fill it out. So I seem to get people, now you can argue whether or not they're they're going to turn into anything, but I do get more people, more leads from driving to a single property website, having them look at it, and then filling out a form after 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. So I
tried that for your Chelmsford open house that I did, and
yeah,
I got good traffic, but not
no
leads.
Yeah. So you can pick here awareness, which is brand awareness. So this would be something like, I used to run brand awareness ads that would just have my picture and said a couple things about me, and I had a custom audience to my database, my sphere, and I would just have that running. And then I was like, this is when I just started out. I'm like, I don't have the money for this. I'm gonna stop. But there's something to be said for doing that if you have the budget to do it. I'm gonna pick traffic because that's what I usually pick, and then I can name my campaign. Let's just say test. You get the point. And then you can create an ad set. Let's just we'll create an ad set, we'll create an ad, and we would put names here. Like I usually just put the address of the house and then, you know, front of home or kitchen or whatever. And then I'll press continue. So this is where you have to, because of this, we are a special ad category. So here's my campaign name. I have to turn this on because we're a special ad category, and I have to pick housing. And that limits the effectiveness of this ad because we can't target the way we used to be able to target because of fair housing and all that. So, so it's just a summary of what we've already picked. I'm not going to do an A/B test. I'm not going to turn on budget optimization. You can test that. All these things you can test, but this is what I usually do because I'm always in a hurry. I'm like, I just got to get it up, which is probably not a good lesson. Don't do what I do. Be smarter. So
I did do budget optimization, but you have to do A/B testing to understand.
Yeah, I don't have time to test copy and format and creative and all that. So in my old job, I had people doing that for me, but in my new job, it's just me. So, so traffic, we're driving to a website. We're not going to have dynamic creative, which would be interesting to test, but I haven't really looked into that much. We're not going to have an offer. I always pick lifetime budget and then I set it. So I usually do $40 for a week, and then I usually only have it running for a week. So I'd have it starting today, and then I'd have it running till next Tuesday, right? And then I would, if I had a custom audience, which I do, I could use those, but I don't. I usually just pick a zip code. So let's just say here, I know that the house is in 20148, I believe.
Is it Ashburn?
Yeah. So I'll pick, actually I have to put Ashburn. We can't use zip codes anymore. I always do that wrong. Ashburn, Virginia. And then I'll pick a couple surrounding. It doesn't change the audience that much. So I'll pick Leesburg, and then maybe I'll pick Herndon, let's just say for giggles. And so I'll pick those. And again, it's overlapping because it's a 15-mile radius. Mm-hmm. So you see all these concentric circles, but that's okay. I do that anyway. And then what I do for targeting is I actually do realtor.com. Bless you.
Thank you.
I do house hunting. And these are all interests, right? So I do Zillow, because I figure if people are looking, they're looking on those, right? Not Premier Agent, because that's an agent thing. I'll do Trulia. And I don't think HGTV comes up anymore. No, it used to come up. So I'll just target
for Chelmsford, I did first time buyers because of the price point. I think that they're in there.
Yep. Okay. First time buyer. Okay. So you can add those in. Used to be you could also narrow, but I used to narrow by realtor or real estate, but it doesn't really, you can't do that anymore because I didn't want to serve this up to other salespeople, right? But so I usually just use the demographic targeting, and then I keep it at automatic placements, and then I don't do any of this. So and then that gets us into the ad itself. So you kind of saw how I put in the copy and all that, and then this is where I would pull. I would go over here. And I would say, okay, let me get my single property website for this particular and you can choose between lead gen and luxury. I always click lead gen. So I would just copy this link, and then I go back over to Facebook and I throw it in here because that's where it's going to drive traffic.
Maggie, is Listings to Leads hosting that single property website?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then I would just put in, you know, you missed it or whatever, right? This is a pending, so it's kind of silly, but, and then the headline is, I'm just being cheeky here. But essentially I don't do this for any pending or solds. I just do it for coming soon and actives. I probably should just to build my business, but I don't. And then this drives you to the website, and then you, I have a pixel, a Facebook pixel. I'm not sure what good it does me, but I always have it on. I think with my new website that I'm migrating to, I'll be able to use that as a way to retarget people. So for right now, it's just collecting things that I can hopefully use in the future. But so that's really kind of all there is to it. And then you click publish, and then they review it and let you know that it meets all the criteria, and then you're good to go.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna publish this, but any questions about what I ran through? Do you want me to run through it again? Do you have?
I have one question. What is a pixel?
So a pixel is a little snippet of code
Okay.
that you use to track people.
Okay.
So for all intents and purposes, it's applying to the ad so that you can collect information and then use that to actually track where those people go and serve up ads in future.
Okay.
So
Which, by the way, that's going away.
only for YouTube.
Well, it'll be for Google too.
Well, based on my research, I only read it about YouTube. So
You know, Google is YouTube is a Google. In 2022, they're getting rid of
but Facebook is Google.
No,
so.
Because Facebook's in its own ecosystem, so they'll allow you to do that in the ecosystem, but all third-party pixels are going to be going the way of the dodo bird.
It's interesting because I didn't see that. I only saw for YouTube. Google was removing it for YouTube. But anyway, let's use it until it's gone.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've got, it's my old industry of targeting.
Yeah.
So Maggie, what's your experience with the reviews of the ad? How long does it take for that to cycle?
It depends, honestly. Sometimes it seems like it takes a lot longer than it should. So I usually set the start time on my timeline to start like later that day. So I'll try to set up my ad in the morning and give them till 5 p.m. to start, hoping that would be plenty of time. If you haven't picked like special category or there's something wrong, they'll let you know, and then you have to go back and fix it, and it gets back in the queue again. Sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's not. It's weird.
Okay.
But I would say do it like earlier in the day from when you want to have it go.
Sure.
All right. So so we've talked about creative. So the marketing aspect of whatever you're doing, whether it's prospecting or promoting a listing. We've talked about listings to leads. We've talked about Facebook ads. Those I would say are the primary tools, other than the other thing that I can show you. And again, I think you can integrate this into Command, but I don't know if it works the same way. Chris, you tried this, so you can maybe chime in on it, but I use Mailchimp. I do a monthly newsletter to everybody. That's one thing that I'm like, and I do it, I make it myself. I tried fast, cheap newsletters or whatever that Art uses. I didn't like the tone. I didn't like the content. I have a very specific aesthetic in terms of what I want to portray and what I want to provide. So shame on me, because I really should figure out a better way to do it, but I actually do spend time making my own. So Mailchimp is free for 2,000 contacts or less. So what I do is I clear out all my unsubscribes and I add people. So what I do is I'll take the people that I'm getting from my Facebook ads that may be long-term people, I'll throw them in here and start newslettering them. So they're probably on a drip and they're probably on a newsletter. If they unsubscribe, they unsubscribe, but I want to make sure I pull them out of my audience so that they don't count. And then I keep my free. So, so you can see here, unsubscribe, but Mailchimp is super easy to use. You can pull down your own templates. You can make your own templates. I will show you.
Hey, Maggie, real quick.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend, you know, since have done open houses and I've collected email addresses from people that have said, oh no, I'm working with a real estate agent. Do you put them in your?
I do not.
Okay.
I mean, even though they're probably lying, it's just, I don't want them complaining.
Okay.
So I will call them and I will email them as a part of maybe a drip campaign, just to say like, hey, if you ever need anything. But if they don't respond after a while, I just pull them off. I just
Okay.
don't want to. And
Usually,
Art, to answer your question about disclosure, so the Facebook ad will link to the website, the single property website, and that single property website, as you saw,
yep,
has all of our brokerage information, my information. So
I see.
So here it's got my license, it's got my office phone. So you really need to make sure you have the office phone, the name of your, brokerage. And so you're covered because you're one click.
Yep.
If they had to go from here to somewhere else, then you could be in trouble.
Yep. Yep.
So I wanted to, because I know that was a concern of yours, I wanted to follow back up on that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So honestly, this is the easiest thing ever. And I really actually have fun with it because I do like to do my marketing, but this is the newsletter I sent out. So you can create your own newsletter header. You can call it whatever you want. And all you're doing is dropping copy blocks. Like, let's say we wanted another divider here. We would just drop it. And then you can change the color of the divider. You can do whatever, and you can save and close. Let's say you wanted to, let me go back. You wanted to put a whole bunch of images in, you could throw that in here.
Where are you getting your content and your images, Maggie? Obviously you have to have permissions.
So I use 2 free services. One's called Unsplash. Here, I'll pull it up. It's called Unsplash. And so it's free, high res, pretty images. There's limited, like sometimes you'll hit the jackpot, sometimes you won't. I really try hard to give them credit and note the image provider since they're providing this for free, but you can search on there's a whole bunch of different things you can search on. And then I also use Pixabay, which is affiliated with, I think it's Shutterstock. So a lot of times if you can't find a free image on Pixabay, it'll populate with Shutterstock. So you can sign up for Shutterstock and pull down images if you want. So those are the 2 that I actually use. And then for my content, honestly, I will do research on what I think is important. And if I see something coming in, I subscribe to some different sources of content. And if I see something that's interesting, I will save it so that I know I'm going to use it. But I usually just go hunting and pecking for stuff. Honestly, it's not the best use of my time, but I don't care as much about the prospects. I care about my sphere, and it's important to me what I provide to them. So,
so my question is so you're not worried, like if you're searching for content, you're not worried about having rights?
No, because I'm linking back to their website.
Okay.
So I'm not repurposing it as my own. I have in the past created bit.ly links to track where people are clicking, but I just figured I don't pay attention to it anyway, so I'm not going to do that extra effort. So I'll just literally click, I'll click to a third party. And so what you can do in here is, let me just show you. So this has a link to our website, right? So if anybody clicks on an image, it's going to take them to our website. And then all my images will always have links. So if I look at this one, it's going to well, no, that one's bad because this one doesn't have. These are all links to support the donation. This one, let me see if this one has a link. Nope, that one doesn't either because those are links here. I'm going to find a link. I think this one goes to Etsy. Let's see. Yeah, so this one will have a link to support small businesses. And I just linked to this cute little wreath. And then I also have a call to action button down here. So depending on how people engage with a newsletter, you can click on the image, you can click on the button. So
does it have a form?
I'll have a contest in here, and sometimes I won't.
Is there one? Is there a blank that you can put underneath? Because I have some ideas for content, and I want to try to get engagement. So I want to get people's ideas.
So ask me that question again. I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, so if we have, so you have this beautiful image,
Yep.
and let's say you want to feature home ideas or whatever, and you want to get people to say, hey, share your favorite home idea or share something from your house. Is there an image that will capture their
Comment?
yeah.
Not in a newsletter. I would use that for social media. Like you could
Okay.
use your newsletter, refer to this section of the newsletter here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Say you can pull the same image and then put that on Facebook and go, hey, every month I have a newsletter. If you're interested, sign up here. And then this month's newsletter talks about great ways to dress up your door for holidays.
Okay.
How do you dress up your door? So if you're going to create content, guys, that's a really good point, Chris. If you're going to create content, create it to leverage across your different channels, right? So leverage your newsletter, which I don't do. I'm just not an example here. Leverage your newsletter on social media. You're creating the time, you're taking the time to create these contents, parse that out and say, okay, how can I use that over the month to kind of, you know, make sure that I'm putting in the effort, but I'm leveraging it as best I can. So whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a market update, whether it's an interview with Dance King or Solo Pizza, how do you leverage that and create it so that you can repurpose it over time as well? You know, like it's an evergreen thing that you can bring up every spring. You know, if you don't have time to do a new one, you can just use that again. So always think, how do I maximize my level of effort on the marketing that I'm creating?
The other thing I've noticed too, but I don't want to steal your thunder, Maggie, but is I have noticed some realtors' emails or newsletters and the content they put up are very lengthy.
Yes.
So you do not want to do lengthy. And
no, I do a brief and give them an opportunity to click. It's a very good point because our attention span is 7 seconds.
I call it palatable bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Maggie and I both used to work at AOL, guys. So
yeah, that's done on purpose. I mean, because I'm just putting myself in their shoes, and if I really want somebody to look at it, I need to provide value, but I also need to provide not a lot of copy. So, and again, I'm happy to share my newsletter templates. I doubt that your style is like mine, so it probably wouldn't be valuable. But at least template wise, you could use it to start and clear everything out, right? And then just adapt it for your own. So you guys just tell me if there's stuff that would be helpful for me to share with you, and I'm happy to share that. So I'm just trying to think of what other tools, because a lot of this presentation, as you see, is going through Command. And so I'm trying to like show you what I do that's equivalent to Command, but not in Command. And I think then there's role play scripting, which you guys are going to do offline. Just trying to see what else I've maybe not covered here. Okay. So let's just say, let's get feedback on thoughts of what's been covered so far. Helpful?
Very helpful, yeah.
These tools?
Oh yeah, this is very helpful.
Okay.
Oh,
you know what I would love to hear, Maggie, is you've obviously been doing this for a while, and so you've developed a process that works. And so I think I'm just maybe reflecting back that what you showed us is what your process is that works. And I know there's multiple, and I got, as you know, down a rabbit hole for about 2 months reading stuff from external sources. I guess it's a question and a comment. That's really the elegant way that I want to see it, is that because there's so much that you have to do that it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think you just showed us the highlights of what works for you.
Yeah, I think the challenge that real estate agents have, and you know, coming from an environment where I would get calls every day to do business with people in my corporate job, it pales in comparison to how much we get inundated with the next best thing. And like once somebody has your email address, they're like, try this, this is the best thing, it's going to work, buy these leads, da, da, da. It's overwhelming. So you have to pick things and use them, and then decide if they're not going to work for you. Because I know when I started out, I was subscribing to a whole bunch of stuff, and the next thing I know, I'm like, shoot, I'm spending a lot of money, and I don't know if it's making sense to me. So that's why I keep going back, and Chris has heard this a million times, and we talked about it at the beginning of this call, is your database is the most important thing, and consistency is the second most important thing. So have your database and decide how you want to hit them, what you want to say to them, and then what are the tools that you're going to use. You don't need many. You need a way to send an email automatically, create segments, whatever, through Mailchimp, super easy to do. And then you need a schedule for when you're going to call them. And then once you get your business, you need a way to support that business. So if you get a listing, what does that process look like, right? So don't think you have to try everything. Pick, and if you want to start with what I'm using, start with what I'm using. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, but at least you have something to start with, so that you're not going, oh crap, I don't know if listings to leads is better than my own website, is better than Command, is better than, right? And you do have a free tool called Command. So to the extent that you can look through it and see if it's going to work for you, you owe it to yourself to do it, because you're not being charged for it, and the tools are in there. So, you know, leverage Mike to teach you that stuff. But you're right. I mean, you got to pick a process, and you got to be consistent, and it really shouldn't be that complicated for you guys. It's just hard because you're second guessing. Like, I know your mindset, because I'm doing this even today. I'm second guessing myself, going, am I using the right thing? Am I doing the right process? And I'm not really sure. And I'm like, oh, but wait, I'm getting business, right? Could I get more business? Absolutely. But something's working, and it really comes down to your customer service and how you dialogue with the people that you know. I mean, really, at the end of the day, and how you follow up with those people. Those are the most important things. The tools are there to help you leverage, right? But it's really about you and how you support your database.
So I had a question, since you were saying about like we should watch what we spend, especially now that we're just starting. Silly question, just because like I'm a very curious person. Out of, for example, those $40 that you spend for each ad, how much can you write off at the end of the year?
Oh, I itemize everything. I itemize because I have an S corp.
Okay.
So that I can actually itemize everything. I don't think there's a limit with S corps, but there may be a limit. Okay. I'm not a tax person, and I let the tax people do that. But I itemize I track everything that I spend. Everything.
Awesome. What is the best way that you use to track it? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ardit. What?
I was saying, what is the best way that you that you use to track all of these expenses? Because
well, you know what I used to do, and I'm happy to send this to you guys, is I used to do an Excel spreadsheet, and I would every month put in all my receipts. And now I have QuickBooks, and I have it tied to my credit card and tied to my bank account. And then I created a general ledger, or categories that I map those things to. So starting out, all you really need is an Excel spreadsheet.
Cool.
It takes time, but you know what? I used to wait till the end of the year, and I'd have a stack of receipts like this tall, and it didn't take that long. It was just like, oh my God, I've got so many things to put in. But the good news is it allows you to think through what you're spending money on, right? And kind of go, did this work for me? Did it not work for me?
Makes sense. Yeah, I was looking for a way to like track all the miles I do with the car.
Yeah.
I was going through a couple of apps, but not even with the.
I use MileIQ, but honestly, it doesn't provide that much value for me. So what I do in January 1, I write down my mileage, and December, because I use my car pretty much we use our other car for non-business stuff. So I can pretty much say all my mileage is business related on my car. So it's a little bit easier for me, but I'll put it up at the top of the spreadsheet that I use to track my expenses, and starting mileage, I'll put it up there, and then ending mileage, I'll put it up there. So
that's what I just did, even though I wasn't that busy. I mean, I just started again end of last year.
Yeah. So, it can be as simple as like an Excel spreadsheet. You just have to commit to tracking it, because keeping all your receipts, or at least printing off your credit card statements, or looking at them every month, so that you can transfer that spend over to your spreadsheet, so you know what you're doing. And then you can just hand all that over to, if you do your own taxes, no big deal. But if you don't, you can hand all that stuff over and it's pretty easy for people to.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and I followed the same path. I started with an Excel spreadsheet and then migrated to QuickBooks. And I turn everything over to the accountant and let them decide what is or is not deductible.
Because our home offices are deductible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't
A
it,
percentage of the square footage. Yes.
doesn't have to be like that you have to have a separate entrance to make it consider? No,
Nope.
just
Nope.
It just has to be dedicated space. So it's not like you can say, oh, it's my kid's bedroom and my office.
Right.
gotcha.
Or it's
Yeah.
I've been using an
table and my
accountant for
office.
years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he keeps me like, because I've had investment properties. So
Kitchen table doesn't qualify, but if you can map out a space where you work, that's what you can claim.
That's pretty cool.
What haven't I answered for you? Did this meet your expectations?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to add something that I did personally, and it worked for me. You know, as you were saying before, Chris, that when you ask people, hey, are you working with someone? They say, yes, you just like completely ignore them. You know what I've been doing? I don't know if it's like too pushy or not. I was like, oh, just out of curiosity, who are you working with? And people there, you can see right away if they're actually working with someone or they're not, because 99% of people, they're genuine and you can see that they're not working, but they don't want to be bothered. I'm like, okay, don't worry, no problem.
That's a great idea, Art. Have you found that people actually have somebody to say?
Yes, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little too direct and people get like a little bit scared because they didn't expect that. They expect people to be more, oh, don't worry, it's all good. But I'm in business, so I gotta know who to target and who not to target,
Yeah.
and who, to be respectful and professional and not illegal to go after someone that already has an agent.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really works, Chris. I promise you. You ask and you're like, who you're working with, and they're like, maybe they throw up a name, and you're like, what is the agent? Or like for which royalty? And they're like, oh, okay, and then they freeze, and then when you know.
Yeah,
I thought of another thing to say too, and I bounced this off of, it's my best friend, and Maggie knows her too, because she was also an AOLer, she's a marketer. And I've come up with too, oh, cool, tell me about like what you like about them and what, tell me how they service you that's good, because I'm building my business. I'd love to hear, how
Awesome.
how they're servicing
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That's probably less direct than mine.
Well, that's I think that builds on what you were saying, Art. And I tend to ask the same questions, but always in a very upbeat tone. Oh, that's great. Who are you working with? Oh, yeah. Do I know them? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's great, you guys. I thought since we have a little bit more time, I would just pull up the business page. And so this would be similar to your business page, but you can see what we try to do is have a mix of content, testimonials. There's our video content where the thing that we're highlighting this year, we're spending a lot of time on, and it's important regardless, but I think because of COVID, it's become even hyper important, is the need to support small businesses. So to the extent that you guys have friends or people, or you even just want to highlight small businesses in your area where you want to concentrate, I would highly encourage you to go build relationships with those people, see if you can't do a quick video with a call to action that gives them a discount or whatever, and start creating, community videos that support, because these, small businesses is what keeps this country going, right? They're the significant portion of the GDP. So to the extent that we can help them and drive traffic and drive business and awareness, I think it benefits us, but it benefits them. And so that's the whole coming from contribution. I think it's really important. And we're really trying to focus this year on that, creating more videos around that, and, really trying to help people to the extent that we can. So that's an example of video, example of our agents, hitting some top milestones. This was a closing, and just FYI, pictures of people at closings do much better than pictures of houses. So as you start to promote your business, try to always get a picture with your clients, because it drives more engagement. let's see what else, you know, holiday posts are, but you see consistency here, right? You see the color is consistent. You see a lot of times we'll have our little logo here. So it's all about branding and consistency. So when you think about how you want to post, here's our logo here, the color palette. So but I spent money on this. I have a style guide. I have a style guide that says, here are the fonts you use, here are the logos and how to use them. Here's the color palette and how to use that. So, you know, I'm not suggesting you do that. You have Keller Williams color palette and you have the brand guidelines for Keller. And you probably already have your own team, you know, brand guidelines. So just when you're posting, think about that, because when people come here, right? And even when they go to Instagram, let's go over to Instagram. And I was doing this before I started paying somebody, just to be clear, right? Like, this isn't because I have somebody doing this for me now, but I wonder if I could switch accounts. But just think about how you want to be consistent with regard to that. Let's see if I can. Oh, poopy. Do I have? Well, I'd get to know on here. Let's see if I have 15 left. I don't think I do. Here we go.
Oh,
What was that? Friends of Homeless
I
Animals.
need another one.
So this image is off because it's a video, but you can see it's pretty consistent.
Oh,
There's
Dance
the
King.
people, Chris. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on there? There's my solo guy. So you can see here, it's pretty consistent in terms of look and feel, right? So it's important. People poo-poo it, but it's really important because people go, oh, that looks like Ardit, you know, or that looks like Peter, you know, so it's just an important thing to keep in mind.
The other thing, I think it's a selling point too. You know, when you talk about your brand proposition, is when you go talk to prospective clients, you have a brand presence. And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be, you know, like 15 West Homes, but it's, you know, Peter's Homes or Ardit's Homes, and it's a Keller Williams. As long as there's a consistency, it gives people a sense of comfort.
Yeah, and it gives you something to refer to too, right? It's social proof, right? So you can say, Mr. Seller, when I sell your home, here are the ways I promote it. Here's an example of a Facebook ad. Here's an example of a postcard. Here's an example of a brochure. You know, and so you have all those materials that you can refer back to show people that you know what you're doing and you have a process, and oh, by the way, it's working. And a lot of times it's just looking at the creative and they're like, ooh, that's really pretty, you know. So, you know, it's a lot of times it's, you got to show and not tell. So to the extent that you start building your library with that stuff, that needs to go into your listing presentation.
Makes sense.
So, okie doke. Well,
That was awesome, Maggie.
10
Thank
minutes
you.
early. What else can I offer you?
Everything was pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah, that was really well worth the time.
Oh, good. I'm
Absolutely.
happy to share.
Even though we
I
talk.
really appreciate you sharing all your resources.
All right, so here's what I have down that you owe me an email on. You've got to write your value prop and write your bio. I don't care what order that is in. I want you to try to create a Facebook ad. Okay, you don't have to submit it unless you need one. And then you need to tell me if you're running into any problems, right? If there's anything that didn't work or whatever. And then I'd like you to, if you're interested in Mailchimp, I want you to let me know and I will send you a template, and I want you to design something for me, whether, you know, let's make it a newsletter, right? Because once you have the template done, all you're doing is swapping out content. So if you get that done, then you know you have something. Or if you already have something that you're using, send it to me and I want to see it.
Okay.
Okay.
So about the bio and the value proposition, I just checked it. I have it on my website. Would you like me to send it to you?
Yeah, send it to me if you want me to look at it.
Yeah.
If you want me to comment on it. Otherwise, I'll just say that looks, you know, I mean, I'm not an expert, so please, I'm not going to like weigh in on your stuff, but at least I know it's done and I know your value prop's done. So I just want to see that that's done. And then the Facebook ad. And then if you want to use Mailchimp, let me know. I will send you my template. And if you want to use that and send me a newsletter, or if you have your own newsletter, I just want to see that you have that tool.
Yeah, I used Mailchimp once when I first started to like massively just tell everybody, hey, I'm in business. Remember me. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I did.
Yeah, and
Also
it's a great tool because you can tag. The thing I like about this, and I just set it up this way because I was getting confused prospects to SOI to clients. You can tag your contacts. You can tag your contact with different tags, and then you can create campaigns just around those segments. So I created 2 segments. One was prospect, and one was SOI/client. Rather than having to pull the tags, I just created 2 different segments, so that I know when I send my newsletters, I send them to each segment, but I send them separately because then I can really get a true read on the people that know me and how they're interacting versus the people that really don't know me. And I've just got them thrown in a bucket, hoping that someday they'll reach out. And I distinctly make them different. So you can see here, here's my prospects newsletter. My click rate was 0.4%. My open rate was 14.9%, which isn't bad for an email. But for my clients and my SOI, my open rate was almost 30%. And my click rate was 2.3. So that means click rate means when they get into the newsletter, they clicked on something. So, I mean, you can tell the difference, but see if they were together, then this would be diluted.
Yep.
This would be diluted and not a good representation of, is my content resonating with people that I care about?
That's pretty smart.
Yeah. So that's marketing, that's what you learn in marketing. So I did do that. I did do one segmentation thing. So yeah, and again, if you want to get together as a group offline and we want to run through Mailchimp, I'm happy to run through Mailchimp with you. Whatever you guys need. I would just ask that let's do it together as a group so I don't have to do it one-off.
Sure.
That way.
No, that's great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thank you.
Guys, enjoy the
Bye,
rest
guys.
of your day. Appreciate it.
All right, you too.
No,
Take care.
appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care.